because I do have a personal TikTok that I use quite a bit. And it's just my old lady stuff. Okay, so now I'm on YouTube and I'm also on Facebook. So welcome. People are just coming in now. So I'm really organized with this one. I'm going to be answering more of your questions that I get outside of these lives. And also, I'm going to talk about leadership skills. People keep addressing what you should do, but really people want to know, what skills do I need to be a good leader? So I'm also going to get into that during this live. And oh, there we go. I just mixed something up. I was just working on that. That's why I was almost late. And what I did was I wrote down my top 3 leadership qualities, like everything else I do. When I first drafted out, it's going to be completely different probably a few weeks from now. So these are all really good skills, but I'll hone it down. Sometimes I go up, I might go up to 5. But anyway, so yeah, I wrote down my top 3 leadership qualities. And they're very good ones, but I might change it in the future. So bear with me. Anyway, so feel free to ask your parenting questions now. But before we really get going, I haven't got any yet. So I'm going to answer some that have come up that might be helpful. They've come up on other platforms, etc. This one is, why is my toddler great at daycare but rotten at home? The reason is you're probably catering to them at home, and daycare doesn't cater to them, and they're responding to the leadership. Okay, they might be a little bit shy too, but usually once they get over that initial shy treatment, it just sort of means that you're not a leader and that daycare worker is. So they're just responding to that leadership. That's generally what the answer is. Not always, but generally. Okay, any questions? Yeah, here we go. Okay, this is from Brooke Ashley. My son just turned 3. A week ago, he started spitting on me when being corrected. How should I handle this? What immediate consequences do you suggest for this age behavior towards parents? Okay, what I would suggest you do is get my free behavior board and put down no spitting on there. I don't like to put that kind of rude stuff on there, but anyway, I would. It's not attitude, it's a physical action. You never put attitude on the behavior board for the kids. But yeah, I would put down no spitting, because it is like I would also do no hitting. So if it's an action, you can put it down. So I put down no spitting, and there's a consequence when he does. What usually happens is kids, by the age of 3, they go 1 in 2 directions. It's when they find their power. So they find their power to follow a leader. If you're a leader, they pick up on that. By the age of 3, they've figured it out. And then they tend to follow you and get super easy. Or if you're not a leader, they go like this. They go, wait a minute, you're not a leader. I think I'll do it. So they start to push you, and they can get quite rude. They find their power for the good or for the evil. It just depends on if you're a leader or not. Which leads me right into the good segue into, I just wrote this out, so I'll probably end up editing it and changing it. But I wrote down my top 3 leadership qualities as I wrote it out just about 2 minutes ago. Number 1 is you be calm and fair during the storms. So when everything's stressful and they're having a fit, a scene, or a tantrum, the calmer you are, the better. Just become like really businesslike, talk very quietly and very slowly. So if they're having an absolute fit over something and you're trying to organize stuff and trying to get them out the door, just say, okay, we're going now, and then take action. So stay calm and fair during the storms. Don't go overboard. Don't over punish either. A lot of parents do this. When everything's going crazy, the parents get pulled into it. That's it. No TV for a year. So watch yourself, stay calm. Number 2 is be crazy and fun during play. So when everything's great and you're connecting with the kids, you always play to their hand, you play in their world. So when you want to just have fun with the kids, you can be as crazy and loud as you want. It's only when everything's going negative that you want to remain calm and more quiet and slower. But the rest of the time, you can be as loud as you want. And you want to be. You want to have fun with your kids. And the last one is learn how to become a great listener. Don't listen to gather information to lecture with. I talk about this all the time with teenagers, but it's really true with young children too. Like when my kids were talking to me and they'd have a problem or something, I'd say, yeah, that's frustrating. I remember when I went through something like that. What do you think you should do? And so I forced them to start problem solving on their own. Rather than me going in and saying, this is what you should do. I didn't want to do that because I want them to be self-regulating, have self-discipline, and be a problem solver. So I always encourage them to think for themselves. So those are my top 3 leadership qualities. Number 1 is you stay calm and fair during the storms. Number 2 is you be crazy and fun during play. And number 3 is become a great listener. Use this more than this. No, use these more than this. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay, I'm going to mix this up with questions I get elsewhere and that might help you. So I can't answer all the questions that come my way, so I'm going to throw them into these lives. This one is, if only actions are on the behavior board, which is true, you never put attitude, what to do about bad attitude? Nothing. There's nothing you can do about a bad attitude. Absolutely nothing. I can't imagine saying have a good attitude and the kid's going, okay, I will. An attitude happens organically, good or bad. So when you become a really good leader for your kids, the attitude improves organically. You cannot address it. If you can, and if it works, let me know. I've never heard of ever at once being effective. So anyway, does that make sense? Attitude is something that is a result of what's going on. You can't address the reaction to what's going on. You change what's going on and the reaction will change, right? It would be like being in a marriage and saying, you have a happy marriage, be happy. It's ridiculous. You got to work on it. Like, like you got to have a happy marriage or a happy relationship to be happy in the relationship. It just doesn't make any sense at all to address an attitude. No sense at all. Not saying you have no sense, but as a parenting coach, it doesn't make any sense to do that. My 3-year-old daughter doesn't want to do things independently, getting dressed or undressed, socks and shoes, jacket. She doesn't want to attempt anything that may be challenging. Her older brother, 4, always wants to learn those things and was excited about that. Okay, don't compare them for one thing. They're all completely different. So this is what got me here. She doesn't want to attempt anything that may be challenging. Is she afraid of failure? Do you guys make a big deal out of winning and losing? That could be it. So are you guys kind of perfectionist? And is it, I've actually had clients who said, okay, so I accept the fact that they're not great at this. How do I encourage them to become great at it? And I said, are you kidding me? They don't need to be great at everything. It's okay to be really lousy at some stuff. I'm really lousy at a whole bunch of stuff. There's stuff I'm really good at. I'm really good at working out. I'm really good at eating healthy. I'm really good at cleaning, sewing. That's about it. The rest of it, I don't really care how good I am at it. Like, we don't have to be great at everything. So are you focusing more on her always improving herself and always being great at everything? It's possible. That usually is a learned behavior, by the way. When kids are afraid of failure and they don't want to try something that's challenging, it's because they're afraid of failure. I used to tell my kids, if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. That's part of life. If you're not going out there enough, you're not trying different things enough. So failure is a wonderful quality, actually, to accept that. I do stuff all the time that I fail at, and I go, geez, I'm proud of myself for giving that a go. Okay, in the moment, that's not what I say, but you get the idea. Gee, Lisa, I'm so proud of you for trying that. That's not what I say when I try something. But later on I do. But I keep throwing myself out there. I keep doing weird stuff just because I like to push myself. Comfort zones are very dangerous. Oh, and I do that a lot too. I mess up a lot too. Okay. I'm going to answer another question that came in through another platform or maybe through Facebook. I'm writing these down because they'd be really good to throw into lives because I just don't have time to answer questions out there otherwise. But the lives, this is where I'm answering all the questions. Okay, this one is how to give kids high self-esteem. This one's very interesting. A lot of parents are doing it through praise. You're wonderful. You're so smart. You're so beautiful. They're not really listening. You develop high self-esteem from pride in yourself. It's not from what people tell you you are. It's from what you know you are. Like, are you nice? Are you polite? It's like that. But a lot of parents overpraise, even when it's phony. Their kid will be kicking them in the shin. I know you're a wonderful little boy. That's not going to help the situation. It's ridiculous. So people tend to overpraise these days. It's this pleaser parent style. Tell them they're wonderful and perfect all the time. That you're just, it's a disaster. But anyway, it's not to say that you don't think they're wonderful, but you don't tell them that all the time. That's not where they get pride from. They get it from what they do. They get it from being a good person. Even from a really young age, they pick up on this. They know if they're a good person or they're not. You see what I'm saying? It comes from what they're doing, and it comes from pride, not from praise. So hold back on that overpraising. It's so overdone. Okay, here we go. What immediate consequence I already answered that one. Sorry. Yeah, put that on the behavior board. Put down no spitting on the behavior board. And bad behavior toward parents. You just pick one action. It's only about actions. With the kids, you only put actions on there. Like, your rule is always no yelling. If you yell, your rule is always no yelling. Okay? But not with the kids. You can't put no yelling for the kids. That's ridiculous. But anyway, they're all just actions. So just put no spitting on the behavior board, and then there's a consequence. The behavior board is completely free. It's up in the link. If you want to go that next step further, check out the boot camp course. That teaches you how to be a leader in 5 weeks. It's all paced out to guide you in there nice and slow, And it sort of, gets harder as you go along, or it gets easier. Okay. Gets more complex as you go along, but it should be getting easier. Okay. Well, this one, I'll tell you why I don't answer a lot of baby questions, or I do, but they're just babies. There's not a lot you can do. You don't have a lot of control over a baby. So I teach relationships, and with a baby, I'll read out my, just a sec, my 4 stages of parenting. Okay. So this might answer that. There are a few little tricks you can do, but I don't know your household, your work schedule, how if you're breastfeeding, there's a whole bunch of stuff around that. If you want to hire me, you might check that out. But otherwise, here's the 4 different stages of parenting. It's not about the children, it's about you, what you're doing with these age groups. So the first one is babies, 0 to 15 months. It's just nurturing. You're starting to say a gentle no as they're starting to get up on their feet, and but then you're using distractions a lot to sort of pull them away from bad behavior. So that's the baby stage. It's a lot of love, and when they cry, pick them up, cuddle them. It's all that connecting, right? And then and by the way, all the ages are connecting, but it's just mostly that when they're babies. Then they go into the toddler stage. This is a really challenging one for a lot of people because they're all feet, no brains. Cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. Anyway, so this is in my view, toddlers are 16 months to 35 months. Okay, this is when you really want to start disciplining them, but it's done through consistent corrective actions. Avoid those really popular mini therapy sessions. People who say stuff like this, use your words. What a patronizing, stupid thing to say. God, I hate that. Anyway, so yeah. Just so dumb. Anyway, so yeah, you enter their world when you discipline them. Okay, so they're all about actions. So you use consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. They won't learn the first 10 times, maybe 50 times. But if you do it 9 times out of 10, they remember the one time you don't do it. So if they throw something and you put take that away every single time, but you miss it once, they're going to remember that one time that you didn't do it. It's confusing to them, but they're going to remember it because that's what they wanted to do and they got away with it. They just do. They remember what suits them, not you. Okay, then you go into the 3rd stage of parenting. This is with children. 3 to 12 years old is where I put that. I know tweens are in there or preteens. That's 9 to 12 years old. That's okay. They're very, very different. A 12-year-old and a 3-year-old, they couldn't be more different. But you're the same parent. This is at the height of your leadership. You lead, they will follow. Their behavior between the ages of 3 to 12 is pretty much 100% a direct result of your parenting. You have all the power in this age group. Then you go into the 4th stage. If you've done everything right in the 3rd stage, the 4th stage should be a lot easier because you understand mutual respect. That's what I teach, is mutual respect through leadership. Then you go into the teen stage, okay? This one completely changes. This one, you want to back away a little bit. You want to allow them to exercise and make mistakes. Like they're allowed to make mistakes. Allow that. If they do something stupid and it's not a huge deal, just say something like this. Say, gee, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And then laugh it off, okay? But you're not going to put up with crap with them. But there's ways around that. I do not have a course on teenagers yet. Maybe one day. The reason I don't is because I specialize in teen crisis work. So I can't turn that into a course. But then I always forget. People don't hire me when things are going pretty good with their teenagers. And that's what you need. You need a course just to teach you how to do if everything's not going off the rails, if you're not in crisis. So one day I'll do that. Anyway, those are the 4 stages: baby, toddler, child, teen. It's all about you. Because parenting is about you. Too many parents are reacting to their children's behavior. I never did that. I led and they followed me. There's a big difference between the two. Yeah, so we asked about that bedtime routine. It's kind of complicated. Like, I don't know what's going on in your house. Are they still having naps? Do you breastfeed in the middle of the night? Maybe get the husband to go in there because he's got nothing going on up there. I don't know. There's a million different things. It's just too much information in that. So yeah, I can't help you with that. Like, not here. It's just, it's too involved. There's too many questions. I'd have to assess the whole situation. That would be a whole course. 3-year-old lying about going potty to get chocolate treat. How would you address it? Well, be there when they're going. Say you can't flush. Just say that. You can't flush. I'll go and inspect. So yeah, that's what I would do. Okay, here's from Amy. My 13-year-old doesn't want to get up in the morning. Sounds like a normal teenager. Frequently misses bus. Also has sick excuses to not go at all. Single mom. Yeah, really, really, really common with teenagers especially. So let me think here. There's just so many different directions I could take it in. Uh, okay, is this third? You know what I would do? Well, I don't know your home. Let's say they're okay. I don't want to say this on here because there's a lot of young parents. Because I specialize in teenagers. They're my favorite age. How do I say this tactful? I'm not very good at being tactful. Teenagers, take the phone away at night. There's no devices in bed. So at 9 o'clock, all the devices go into a port somewhere in your bedroom. Your device too. Say, I won't have any devices either after 10, which is like when I go to bed or whatever. So then recharge everything in one spot so they have no access. He might just be up throughout the night. That's all I'm going to say. I might be wrong, but that's one of the most common reasons why teenagers are skipping the bus. You can read between the lines. Parents are often, oh, he would never do that. And I'm like, yeah, check out the history. We'll talk later. Anyway. So I'm getting the giggles. I can't tell you how many times parents have said that to me. Oh, I'd never do that. Okay. Alrighty. You might not be with me right now. If you've got older kids, or you're probably with me. Oh, sorry, I got to skip ahead here. Okay, because I wasn't. How to parent alone without the child's father? Well, I mean, my ex-husband was in the picture, but I still was very much the leader. Like I didn't turn to him for advice, that's for sure. The hardest thing, not that he wasn't a good dad, but I kind of was always the leader anyway. And we kind of, they were kind of easy kids because they were raised with a lot of discipline. They only need one good leader. They don't need two good leaders. There's usually only one leader anyway. Very rarely are there two leaders in a family. It's usually one parent is the leader and the other one is the pleaser. And it all works beautifully so long as the pleaser defers to the leader. So something like this, like I used to say to my dad, the pleaser, my mom was the leader. I used to say to my dad, whispering behind mom's back, Daddy, can I have this? And he'd say, sure, sweetie pie. And I go, oh, goody, because I knew it was something mom wouldn't want me to have. And then he'd say, sure, sweetie pie, let's just check with mom first. And I go, oh, never mind. So you see, it works because they were on the same page. Not always. Sometimes dad gave in too much probably. But anyway, you get the idea. So yeah, they only really need one leader. Focus on your leadership skills. There's no difference. They still need a leader. So you want to be that anyway, even if there is a father around. Or he can be the leader, but they just need one leader. So I'm just going to, sugar. I'm just going to read out, I get a lot of questions all over the place and I just don't have time to answer them. So I'm going to start answering them on these lives because they can help everybody too. Oh, geez, I keep doing that wrong. Okay. Why shouldn't I pay for chores? The reason you don't pay for chores is I would have said this to my kids if they'd asked me that. If they'd say, why aren't you paying for chores? I'd say, because you live here. No one's paying me to scrub the toilet. So yeah, they wouldn't have questioned me after that. But yeah, I would never pay for chores. They got to learn how to clean up after themselves. When they get out on their own, who's going to be paying them to do the laundry and everything? So yeah, they've just got to learn that they got to look after themselves. That's just a gimme as far as I'm concerned. That's a baseline thing. I would never pay for chores. But what I would pay for is extra stuff. Like if they're going to detail your car or something, then I would pay for that. But if they're just cleaning up, contributing to the household, no way would I pay for that. But I do believe children deserve to learn how to manage and save money and spend responsibly. So check out, I have a whole bunch of videos all over the place about allowance, how you do that. I had a really specific system on how you set up allowance, and they just get that for no reason. Like they just get it because you want to teach them how to manage money, right? So because school doesn't teach them all this stuff, and nor should they. That's your job to teach children about life. So school is there to teach academics. They don't teach about life and stuff like that. That's your job. Okay. Someone asked me the other day, I think I just did a video on that. I don't know when it's coming out. And it was, someone said to me, why are kids so difficult these days? Why are they falling apart? And I went, pleaser parent style, because no one's disciplining their kids anymore. They're trying to please them. They're trying to make life easy for them. Huge mistake, very misdirected. I saw that coming in about 30 or 40 years ago now, really. I realized the other day, I don't even think it was 30 years ago. I think it was 40 years ago. I saw this coming in. It was in the 80s, and I was 20 in 1980. So yeah, it's like 40 years ago. And I saw this coming in, and it started with participation awards. Are you freaking kidding me? You get an award just for turning up. Look, everybody, I just got to the bus stop. Give me an award. Like, how ridiculous. That's what you're raising. You're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. They just expect the red carpet to be rolled out for them everywhere they go. It's absolutely ludicrous. But yeah, that's the big mistake these days. I know it's trendy right now, but that pleaser parent style was invented to make the mom feel good. Has nothing to do with the kids. It's a total disaster. Do you know most parents who are pleaser parents? There's a whole bunch of stuff. I don't study what's really out there specifically, but I know the whole idea behind it, right? Is you're discussing all the big emotions all the time and you're trying to help them self-regulate and all this garbage. They will self-regulate. When you're a good leader, it happens organically. They just feel safe, they feel loved, they feel proud of themselves because you're bringing out the best in them. That's the best thing you can do for your children is be a leader. Children don't have leaders anymore. That's why they're totally out of control. That's why there's so many problems nowadays with kids who just have all these mental health issues. They're all victims. They're all woe is me all the time. Geez, I've never heard so much complaining in my life as with just this generation. It's ridiculous. It's not their fault though. It's the way they were raised. That's just the way they were raised. Well, you didn't validate my feelings. So I'm just a bus driver, lady. Like, that's what you're doing to your poor kids. And you're going to send them out in the world very unlikable. What are some good examples of being a leader? I actually wrote down, but I just did it tonight, so I'll probably change it. But my 3 top leadership qualities are, number 1, be calm and fair during the storm. So when everything's kind of going a mess, you just stay really calm and be really fair. Don't go overboard. The second one is be crazy and fun during playtime. You want to be loud and crazy the rest of the time. You only need to be quiet and businesslike when you're disciplining, okay? And the third one is be a great listener. You listen to understand and show empathy, even with little ones. When you're listening to them, you guide them into solving their own problems. Guide them into thinking for themselves. You don't want obedient soldiers. You want very confident kids who have a voice and who think for themselves. It's the best thing you can give your kids is build them into strong individuals who think for themselves. What's your opinion on homeschooling? Is there an age you recommended to put them in school? No, I don't talk about that. That's like asking me about religion. It's a personal choice. So I literally have no opinion on it. Whether you homeschool, you have them in Montessori, Steiner, any alternative school, or private or public, I don't know. Yeah, that's a personal choice. The only thing I've seen happen is when they hit high school, because they're usually mainstreamed when they go to high school. Most kids are not homeschooled through the teen years. And I kind of think it's good for them to get out there. But what they struggle with the most, these kids who were homeschooled and then all of a sudden in high school, they're thrown into the mix, right? And they don't have the social skills for one thing in that. But what you can do to help them out is make sure that when they're homeschooled with you, don't just stay within your own community. It can be very incestuous, the homeschooling community. It's a wonderful community, but you don't want your kids to just be around other homeschooled kids because they are different, right? They're raised differently. It's a whole alternative way of life for those kids. You want to throw them into different activities out there with all sorts of kids from all different walks of life. So that's the best thing you can do for them because that is the world. It's lots of different people from lots of different, walks of life. So, because most people are not homeschooled. So when they're adults, not saying I'm against it or for it at all. I have no opinion on it. None. Okay, another thing that I wrote down just for tonight that I wanted to bring out, just a lot of stuff that I like talking about that I think is really important to repeat, is one about leadership is not about your kids liking you. That happens anyway. But your goal as a leader is to get your kids to like themselves. When they like themselves with you, they want to please you. You're not telling them what to do. They naturally just are following your lead. They naturally do things to please you. When they're little, as they get older, you don't want that. You don't want teenagers to be living just to please you. You want them to not want to disappoint you, but you want them to have a good moral compass so they'll want to please themselves and be proud of themselves. That's the whole goal with teenagers. But yeah, when they're growing up and they're little, you do want to be their leader. You want them to want to please you. I remember my son was in grade 2. And the teacher called me on her lunch hour to tell me this. I thought this was so cute. She thought it was adorable. She said to my son in grade 2, "Why are you so nice?" Because I worked hard. They were nice kids. So she said to him, "Why are you so nice?" And he looked up at her all serious and he said, "Mommy makes us be nice." Like he had no choice whatsoever. You're darn right. I made them be nice. It was my job. I'm sending nice kids to school. I wouldn't want to do the other to those poor teachers. And I don't want to send kids out in the world that people don't like. I would find that devastating. If I walked into a room with my kids and everyone went, oh no, here he is. Like, wouldn't that be awful? Just that people don't like your kids because they're difficult. Yeah, it's not necessary. You can learn, anyone can learn how to lead. That's what I teach. That's all I teach here is leadership skills. Remember, your goal is to make your kids like themselves. When they like themselves, they are proud of themselves and they're never rude. They just aren't. Anyone who lashes out, like whenever someone says something snotty to me online or whatever, I'm like, it's just a cry for help. It just means they're miserable. They're just exposing their misery. And that's why it never bothers me at all. I'm like, oh, that's sad. I'm not a therapist. Go find one because that's not what I'm here for. So yeah, there's just adults exercising their misery. You see that all the time. And so think about it. If you're happy, you can't be mean. It's impossible. If you're happy, you cannot be mean. If kids are happy, they're not mean. They're nice. So you do not want obedient soldiers. That's the last thing you would want. My kids had a voice, believe me. If I did something they didn't like, I heard about it. And I wanted to, because I wanted to learn too. Okay, I got to move over because I got itchy nose. I got to move over to Instagram now. That's my biggest, busiest live. And TikTok's pretty crazy too. So this one's good because I usually get to most questions. And that's why I had an opportunity to answer these other questions that come in from various platforms. Anyway, if you do have any parenting questions, this is where I address them all. In the comments, I won't even want to say anything. I just don't have a lot of time these days, but I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best here. So anyway, if I'm going over to Instagram, then TikTok after that, but I'm on YouTube the whole time. So they're saved. All my lives are saved on YouTube. Anyway, I got to get going. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, teaches you how to be a leader with 3 to 12-year-olds in 5 weeks, or you can hire me for one-on-one coaching. It's all done on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you live. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me and happy parenting. Sorry, YouTube, I've just got to post that. I post my Facebook lives for 30 days, but the Instagram and the TikTok are deleted. And YouTube is saved. What am I doing here? Okay, Instagram. And live and go. Okay. Sorry, I just had to do some more notes. Hello, just writing something down here. Okay, so I just finished my Facebook Live, so you might have come from there. I'm also on YouTube, and which is where all of my lives are saved. Okay, I've already got over 100 people here, so just ask away any questions. I'll do my very best to answer them. I will try and mix up the age groups and everything and mix it up a little bit. So if I don't get to your question, I just haven't seen it because I've been scrolling, trying to get through them all. But I do my best to mix it up and make it as interesting for as many age groups as possible. Most of the questions that turn up are about toddlers, but I do specialize in teenagers. That's how I started my business. I started doing teen crisis work and also with abused children. So that was it was all crisis work. And someone on live TV on the news called me the crisis queen. I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be the crisis queen. I want to be the prevention, not queen. I don't want to be a queen. I want to prevent that. So I still deal with it in coaching, but I certainly don't talk about it like on here. You know what I mean? But yeah. I like your hair down. Yeah, I straightened it. I don't hardly ever do that because I hate doing anything to myself. I could not be more low maintenance. I do nothing. I don't color my hair. I cut it myself. I hate working on myself. I'm a product of the 80s. I was born in 1960. And during the 80s, that was the Michael Jackson era, the Prince era, the big hair, the long nails, tons and tons of makeup. So I've been there. I was a disco queen. I was one of those. So it feels good to not care anymore. Okay. Now, what's the best? Yeah, okay, this one's kind of a tricky one. What's the best way to get? So I kind of hoped I hadn't seen it. It's just because I don't have a great answer for you. That's why. I know what to say, but it's not a great answer. What's the best way to get my 2-year-old to stop pushing and tackling my 1-year-old? I don't really know. Like, toddlers are going to do what they're going to do. I'm just going to read out, first of all, I will try and give you a little bit of an answer, but I'm also going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. You got a 2 and a 1-year-old, so you got 2 little ones. Okay, here's my top 5 tips for toddlers. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Number 2, set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. That could potentially help you. Maybe they're bored with, maybe there's too much stuff around. They're overstimulated. They can't focus on anything. So maybe rotate the toys around every week or so, or every couple days even, just to keep them more interested in what's in front of them. That might actually really help you. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler, you enter their world. You don't go to the nail salon with them. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. They start to look at you differently because as soon as you enter their world, they just look at you differently. Now, that was my thing with kids, I was very good at entering their world and connecting with them. So they always felt kind of understood. They kind of felt, oh, she knows what I'm thinking. So anyway, that was always sort of my superpower, I think. Fun was. But anyway, number 4 is stop with the mini therapy sessions. Toddlers are all about actions. They're not about words. All this, use your words and let's discuss all your big feelings and let's regulate all your emotions and I love you and that's garbage. That's invented. That's part of the pleaser parent style. It's just ridiculous. It's all feeding the mom's needs. It has nothing to do with the toddler. They're all about actions. They're not listening to you. They're watching you. And they're all about consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition, not words. The thing is that the pleaser parent style just took off about 30, 40 years ago. And because it's feeding the moms, usually the mom's needs, that's where it came from. But anyway, the problem with that is that it's starting to go out of style now. But the thing is that it's kind of it sounds beautiful. Just discuss all this with them. Discuss that. Make their life easier. It kind of pulls you in. But if you stop and think about it, it makes no sense at all. Where's the leadership? Where's the lessons? Where's the pride for children to feel good about themselves if you're always doing everything for them? Anyway, okay. Number 5, this is with toddlers. Stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure-outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed in here. They're just forming, okay? Imagine if you're 2 years old and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like really, they have no context of the world yet. So if you got a 2-year-old pushing around a 1-year-old, they don't understand concussions and bleeding brains and and blood clots and all that. They don't understand what they're doing. So yeah, maybe try the toy rotation system. See if you can't get them more interested in what's in front of them. Potentially, there's a whole bunch of other stuff we could talk about, but that's just what I'll touch on there. 2-year-old refuses liquid medicine. I've tried mixing it with everything. I refuse to restrain him. Any ideas? I do know what I did with my kids, but I cannot tell you because it's not medically sound. It's very old-fashioned. A lot of people do it, and doctors will even tell you to do it, but I can't because I'm not a doctor. I'm sorry, I can't tell you. But I did it with my kids. Look up home remedy, maybe, but be careful with that. Like it's nothing dangerous. It's just a little trick. But look up what would my grandma do, that kind of stuff. It's a very old-fashioned thing to do, but it works and it's harmless. And in my mind, it's harmless, but because we're dealing with medicine, I can't discuss it. But what is a good rule for kids' actions for the board? Depends on the age. And by the way, that behavior board starts at 3. So it's usually something like follow chore chart. And then the chore chart, it might just be make your bed and put your laundry in the hamper, dirty laundry. It might just start really small. It doesn't really matter what's on there. It's just to show that, hey, I know what I'm doing. I know how to be a leader, or I'm learning how to do it. So you put down a rule, do not pick the hardest thing. If you're doing this all by yourself, do not pick the hardest thing. Even in the course, you start small. If you hire me for coaching, we start bigger because I know I can use the failures to our advantage because that's where I learn the most is I will push you. And then we'll laugh it off and say, yeah, I pushed you, but now we know a lot more than we did last week, right? So, but if you're doing it all by yourself, pick something easy to do because you won't know how to recover from that. In other words, if you put something really hard on that behavior board and you fail, you're going to get discouraged. It's not going to work. Whereas if you know you're going to be talking to me the next week, we will probably laugh at it because most parents do mess up in the first week, but we learn a lot. So some don't though. Some I don't need to put big stuff on there because they're not really struggling with anything big. And I don't always. It depends. And I won't go into it. Coaching's different. Everything's different in coaching. It's not the same as anything else. Okay. How to get toddler to stay in bed. I'm staying as consistent as possible, but it takes hours sometimes to finally get her to stay in bed. Okay, check out my Bedtime Battles course because it's a whole system. It goes from 2 to 8 years old, and it's two parts: how to get them in bed, then how to keep them there. Which part's the harder? Keeping them there. It can go on for hours, but it's oftentimes when I'm coaching clients through this, it's one night of hell, and they often never get up again. But it's a rough night. Okay, but anyway, check that out. Bedtime Battles course. Hmm. I don't know what you mean by this. 3-year-old seeking sensory input all the time. He smothers my 2-year-old as a result. Any suggestions? Seeking sensory input all the time. So he's bored and then he attacks the 2-year-old. Is that what you're saying? So is that what you're saying? Like I keep it simple. Yeah. I think I know what you're saying, but is that it? Is that my interpretation? So they're bored. When they get bored, they attack the 2-year-old. You might want to confirm that with me. By the way, I got to scroll ahead because people come and go, and if I'm answering questions and the person's gone, kind of. Yeah, he needs sensory input. That's like saying he needs love. Like what I mean is, what do you mean by that? It could be anything. Sensory input's a very broad term. So yeah, you're gonna have to be really specific. So he's easily bored. He needs you to entertain him all the time. Is that what you mean? So he's demanding, spoiled. Is that what you're saying? It's a very nice way. Oftentimes, that's a very nice way of saying I've spoiled him. Now I've wrecked him. What do I do now? He needs sensory input all the time. So you've been so busy entertaining him and catering to him. Now all of a sudden you're not, or you can't do it all the time. I'm guessing. I could be wrong, but oftentimes that's what's going on. Okay. Here again, I don't really know what's going on here. I would have to assess it, but I'm just going to surmise. So I could be off, but it might help someone. 14-month-old keeps waking at night for about 2 hours. Are they sleeping too much during the day? When are you feeding them at night? Do you have a good bedtime routine? And what time are they waking up? And are they waking up from 10 till 12 or 4 till 6? So, but yeah, 4 till 6, they might just be done. They're awake. So I don't quite know. Too many different variables there, so I'm not too sure. Best way to teach sharing for a 1.5-year-old. You don't. They can't grasp sharing. You can teach them not to grab stuff, but even that's going to take a while. So yeah, but you can't teach a 1.5-year-old to share. You can potentially teach them not to grab stuff. That's the best you can do. Or they might share. Okay. They might act it out at certain times because they get this from you. Yay! Oh, good boy, good girl. So they might act it out, but they don't get it. So you can't really teach. They don't get the empathy part of sharing. They don't really get that till they're 3, 3.5, 3 3/4, really. It's 3 years and 9 months is when they can start to grasp empathy. Doesn't mean they're going to have it automatically, but they can start to really grasp, wait a minute, I'm not the only one in the world. Other people have feelings too. It's 3 years and 9 months. I've been saying that for 50 years. And the professionals always said it was 5 years, 7 years, 2 years, 2.5. And now I read about 2 years ago, this big scientist came out and said, 3 years, 9 months. I've been saying that for 50 years. You can see it. They just shift. They can start to get empathy. I've been studying kids for 52 years. I don't care what degree you have. I've been watching them for 52 years. I've seen it. It's 3 and 9 months. Doesn't mean they're going to have empathy. You still have to sort of teach. Some of them are born like that, but it's rare. You have to teach them, but they can grasp it. Okay, I want to say here, someone said, I don't think it matters if she has credentials or not. And that's a personal choice. Some people put a high value on credentials, but a lot of my clients are child psychologists. So they understand that this is a specialty, it's personal. I couldn't do their job. Parenting, there's no degree in parenting. Where's the degree? I got my PhD in parenting. It's just, do you have functioning adults who are nice people? That's your PhD. That's it. I got that. But anyway, So yeah, and I would say too, just it's just common sense. If I make sense to you, then follow me and just follow me. Don't follow anyone else for 3 weeks. See if it helps. If not, move on to someone else. Say she's stupid and go on to someone else. Give it 3 weeks. Don't mix us up. If you pick and choose what you like from different parenting experts, what I don't like that word, but you know what I'm saying. If you pick and choose from different people and try and mix it all together, it's like doing that with diets. It doesn't work. Everything I talk about, I teach giving respect to get it. That's what leadership is. You give respect first, and then you will get it. Okay. But if you were to throw a whole bunch like timeout into my methods, it would tank. I hate timeout. I think it's mean. It's not respectful at all. I think it's terrible. So, but yeah, be very selective with who you pick. They have to make sense to you. A lot of what's super popular right now is under the leadership, not the leadership, the pleaser parent style. I'm the only one I know that teaches leadership. I've never heard anyone else talk about it. If they are, as far as I know, I invented that. So, but I'm happy if everyone else gets on board too. That'd be thrilling for me because I'm here to make a difference. I'm not here to be a star. I'm here to make you all happy. I'm here to make you enjoy parenting like I did. So I feel like I'm going off on a big fat tangent here. What was I saying? Oh yeah, I know. If you're going to follow someone and take their advice about parenting, because it is heavily experience based, two things that they have to have. One is they have to finish the job with their own kids. If they haven't lived with and raised young adults, what do they know about how do they know if what they're investing in is going to pay off? If they've only got little kids, how can they talk about parenting? How do they know if that's not going to backfire? A lot of what people are doing with little kids that's working backfires and builds resentment and rebellion. And I see it. I know exactly what's going to happen. I can almost always tell what's going to happen down the road. So yeah, they have to have had finished the job with their own kids. Number two is they have to have had experience with hundreds of other kids. I've worked with hundreds of kids, physical, mental, emotional, damaged, everything, all different ages, from zero, like in preemie wards, disabled babies, NAS babies, narcotic addiction syndrome babies, who were all shaky that you couldn't even get eye contact with. I've done that in hospitals. I've also worked in juvie homes. I've also worked in psych wards with delinquent teenagers. So I've worked with everything. People have to have had that heavy experience based, because how can they really understand parenting if they haven't studied children? Like with kids, you can't learn this in a classroom. You got to learn all this by working with kids. Kids taught me all this. I find kids fascinating because they are us. We were there. That's how we all form. So I find them fascinating because they haven't got all the baggage yet. They haven't got all that phony crap around them that we all develop out in the world, just trying to be polite all the time and we don't even feel like it. Like they just say it like it is. And I'm kind of a bit more like that myself. I'm just sort of whatever I'm thinking, I just say it. And kids are like that too. But if you understand kids, you have a better understanding of yourself. So that's why I always found them so fascinating. This one's a tough one. How do I get my soon-to-be 4-year-old to not wet the bed at night? I don't know what you're doing. There's a million different things. I wouldn't suggest my potty training course for you because he's already potty trained, I'm assuming. He's just a bedwetter. It could be physical. It could be. I would go to the doctor and say, is there anything just to rule out any medical issue? It might just be something, he just doesn't have bladder control yet or something. I don't know. There's lots of different reasons for that. Or what I would do is make sure he doesn't drink anything at least an hour and a half before bed. And if he does, make it small. And when you send him to bed, you might even get him up in the middle of the night. I've actually looked after kids. I had to do that with a kid once. Get him up at midnight. My alarm went off and they said, you have to get him up at midnight because I was looking after him overnight. And they said, you have to get him up at midnight, take him to the bathroom, just carry him in there. He was about 3 or something, 4. Carry him in there and he'll pee, but you have to hold him and then just put him back to bed. He won't wet the bed that way. So anyway, in the morning, I said, oh, sorry, I forgot to do that. And they said, no, you did it. And I said, how do you know? And they said, because his pee was in the toilet. And I said, oh, I had no memory of it. I must have sleepwalked when I did it. so yeah, you might have to wake him up in the middle of the night, take him sleepwalking to go pee. Okay. So I just had to look at the time because I'm worried about like last time I was late on TikTok and I don't like to be late. Okay. My boys, 10, 7, and 5, had the worst attitude and actions towards everything. How do I fix this? Okay, that's learned behavior. You've taught them how to do that. It's just the way it is. You lead, they will follow. You're not leading, so they're not following. They've got nothing to follow. Of course, they've got a bad attitude. They're missing out. Children need, crave, and want a leader. If you're not a leader, that's what happens. They just feel completely lost. They'll go askew. If you're not a leader for your children, they're going to be very susceptible to bullying, peer pressure, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're going to look for a leader elsewhere, or they're going to look in the mirror and look to themselves like they're just going to get out of control. Work on your leadership skills. That boot camp course might be perfect for you. It's up in the link somewhere above there. Anyway, it's all about teaching you how to be a leader. You lead, they will follow. Your children's behavior is 100% a direct result of your parenting from the ages of 3 to 12. That's the height of your leadership. That's why that boot camp course goes from 3 to 12. You're at the height of your leadership. So it's all based on you. It's not about the kids. It's about you. I teach you how to be a leader. So I'm wearing an itchy sweater. Have you ever had one of those sweaters? Everything itches. I keep wearing it because I spent money on it. Anyway. Okay, my 4-year-old calls me bad mom for every inconvenience. Should I correct or ignore? Some days it really ticks me off. For any, what do you mean by inconvenience? So something that doesn't go his way, he calls you a bad mom. Yeah, he's wiping his feet all over you. So anyway, again, just check out that boot camp course. That might be for you. It teaches you how to be a leader in 5 weeks. Check it out. But you can't put attitude on there. If a kid said anything to me about, like, let's say my kids had said this to me, "You're a bad mom," just because they didn't like what I just did, I would turn to them and go, "Whatever." And then I would just continue on as if they hadn't even spoken. But I would address it to let them know, whatever. It's just a form of manipulation. It obviously bothers you because you said some days it really ticks me off. He knows it. You don't correct that, by the way. You just go, whatever. Don't feed it. You're feeding it. Work on your leadership skills. They don't talk like that. Like they would never say that if they respected you. They just don't. They would be embarrassed because they look up to you. You're fun. They like being with you. They feel good about themselves when they're with you. When you're a leader, they feel good about themselves. They don't do that. So yeah, work on your leadership skills. Remember, ages of 3 to 12, their behavior is 100% a direct result of your parenting. Might not be 100%. I tend to exaggerate, but pretty much. Not their. You don't want to change their basic personality or who they are. You don't want to change that. It's their behavior, how they treat other people is all on you. It's all on you. Don't know why I did that. It's so rude when you point to people like that. I don't know why I do that sometimes. It's so rude. It's patronizing. But really, I'm doing it to myself because I can only see myself in here. Okay. So I just want to get organized here. There's a few things I like to go over that are just sort of standard information that's good to know. One thing, this is really important. This comes up a lot in coaching because a lot of times when I'm working with parents, they don't get along. It happens every day. They're arguing, and that's a huge part of my business is the parents' relationship, getting them on the same page with parenting. Oftentimes, and the 2 most common reasons for divorce, or 2 of the most common, is kids and money. So I can help you with the kids part anyway. But yeah, I teach this to my clients. How to apologize effectively. There's 4 steps to a good apology. And you want to do this with your kids too. If you mess up with your kids and they're older, not 2-year-old, but when they're older, this is how, if you've messed up, you apologize. You want to be accountable because they're watching you. If you're accountable, they're more likely to be accountable. Anyway, here's the 4 steps to apologizing effectively. Number 1 is you say, "I'm sorry. I don't really care about that. It's overused and there's nothing behind it. There's no substance to it. Who cares? Sorry. Oh, okay, whatever. What are you going to do? Is that it?" Anyway, number 1 is say you're sorry. Number 2 is take full responsibility and accountability for what you did. Don't say, "I'm sorry I hit you, but I had to because you did that." You see, there's no sorry there. And the 3rd step is people often don't even think about this, but make amends. Say, "What can I do to make it up to you?" Think about it. How would you feel if someone was late? They turned up late. You're standing up front waiting for them at the movie theater. They turn up late. And let's say it wasn't really their fault. They got stuck in traffic. And they say to you, "Sorry, I should have thought ahead of time about the traffic. How about I buy your popcorn for the movie?" It's kind. Anyway, and then the last one is there's 4 steps. That was only 3. The last one is don't keep doing it. If you keep doing it, none of that other stuff meant anything. How to get a 4-year-old to listen to teachers. He acts up and then has extreme meltdown. Okay. There's 3 reasons why they act out at school. One is that they also act out at home. Okay, so if they do, then you have to work on your leadership. If they've never been taught how to be polite, they're not going to Be polite out there. See what I'm saying? That's the most common one. The second one is if you're giving in to them and spoiling them and giving them everything they want. Teachers aren't going to do that. So they kick up a storm. So that you might say they're great at home. A lot of times parents say this. They're great at home, but they're lousy at school. So instantly I say that's probably because you're giving them everything they ask for, right? You're catering to them. You're the pleaser parent, right? Heaven forbid they should have a fit scene or a tantrum, which, by the way, is a really healthy thing. I'll get into that in a second, actually. And then the third reason is something's going on at school. Might not be anything huge, but just something that's upsetting them. Those are the only three reasons why they would act out at school. They act out at home, or you give in and spoil them rotten, and school doesn't do that, or something's going on there. It's usually the first one, though. Okay, what was I going to say about that? Shoot, I just said I was going to mention that. Oh, fit scenes and tantrums. They are your children. A fit, a scene, or a tantrum is your child processing not getting what they want, when they want, and how they want it. And that's okay. Allow them to process that. It's important. The younger they learn this, the better. A fit, a scene, or a tantrum is them processing not getting what they want, when they want, and how they want it. Would you want to interrupt that process? Why on earth would you want to stop that? Why on earth would you want to stop them from learning how to transition from getting everything their own way to not getting everything their own way? Makes no sense at all. Every time a kid has a fit scene or a tantrum around me, my response is, oh, what a great opportunity for me to exercise my leadership by showing that's not going to work with me. That's them transitioning from getting all their own way to understanding respect and understanding that there are rules. So a lot of parents just don't get that. They want to avoid them. They'll say, how do we avoid tantrums and fits and scenes? And why would you want to? I'm assuming that you're meeting their needs. If you're not meeting their needs and they're having fit scenes and tantrums, maybe they're neglected or abused or something. That's different. That's not what you're here for, probably, right? So yeah, you meet their needs and manage their wants. The fit scenes and the tantrums are all about managing their wants. The sooner they learn they can't have everything they want, when they want it, and how they want it, the better. I remember I tell this all the time, but that 8-year-old, he'd never met me before, so I guess he thought it would work on me. He didn't know me. Anyway, I was told he was very challenging, and it was my very first time with him. So anyway, I'd said no to him. He asked for something, and I said, no, you can't have that. And he said to me, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. He said it just like real dirty like that. And I said to him, bring it on, as calm as anything. And he went like that, and he never did. I called him on it. So yeah, I would never try and avoid a fit scene or a tantrum. That is their lesson. Does ignoring help when a 3-year-old is stubborn for hours? No, I don't ignore stubbornness. No. I don't know the situation, so I don't know what you mean. No, I don't ignore stubbornness. You don't ignore just stuff you don't like. You only ignore tantrums. That's a fit scene or a tantrum. You ignore that stuff because that's their process. It's important. Stubbornness is not a learning process. It's a personality trait. It's usually learned behavior. It usually means that if they're stubborn for long enough, that they'll get their own way. Is that what's happened? They're stubborn for hours. I don't know. Yeah. I'm going to read out, I don't know if I already read it out in this slide, but it's really important. A lot of the questions will be covered in this. I say it every day. My top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Okay, listen carefully because this one's important. All of them, like these are important. Number 1 is child-proof your home so you never have to say no. They will actually be less precocious when you take them out, like my kids were. They weren't used to getting into stuff. And then when I did put stuff out, they were old enough and they just didn't bother touching it. I wanted to be able to relax in my own home. And I didn't want to have to say no to them all the time. It was easy. Anyway, number 2 is you set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. If you have too much clutter, your children can't focus. They get overstimulated and they get bored with the same thing over and over again. So you put stuff away and then bring it out. Maybe every week you change it around. Put this existing toys away. Maybe 5% of their toys are out at any given time. They might only have 5 toys out, and that's okay. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler, you enter their world. You don't go to the nail salon with them. Like a lot of parents do this. They pull their little ones up into their world, and because the mom's having fun. The kid is too, but it's not It's not the best way to do it. Anyway, you can do that too, but you really connect with them in their world. It's showing them respect when you enter their world. You connect on a different level, and they look at you differently. I was really good at that, actually, entering kids' worlds when I was working with them. And that I always thought, what's their world? I'm going to enter that. I did it with teenagers. I did all ages I worked with. I entered their world. I never expected them to find their inner adult to please me. I was pleasing them. I was in their world. Okay. Number 4 is when you're disciplining toddlers, you don't do the mini therapy sessions. I know they're trendy right now, discussing all the big feelings and big emotions. It's just crap. I know it's really trendy. It was invented for the mom to make her feel good. It has nothing to do with the toddler. They're about actions. They're about consistent corrective actions because they learn through repetition. But you got to be consistent 100% of the time. If you do it 9 times out of 10, they remember the one time you didn't because they remember what suits them. Okay, number 5 is the very last one. Stop trying to figure them out. Toddlers are not figure-outable. I always call them crazy. It's not so much that they're crazy, they just haven't developed sanity yet. They're not there yet. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They've got one marble and some tumbleweed in here. They're just learning. They're cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains. Imagine if you've been in the world for 2 years and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. Like they just have no context to the world yet. So everyone's trying to figure them out. Can't do that. I can usually figure out what they're going to do. Like if I'm watching a toddler, I can usually predict what they're thinking and know what they're going to do. But I don't always know why they would do this, stick their hands down their pants and rub poop on the wall. I don't try and figure it out, but I can predict them. I'm pretty good at predicting what they're going to do. But I can't make sense out of that. You're going like this and smear poop on the wall. How do you make sense out of that? To a toddler, that might make perfect sense. Laugh it off. I mean, they're only toddlers once. They're cute as a button, but just don't try and figure them out. And those 5 tips, they're meant to make your life easier with them. They're not complex tips. They're just meant to keep it really simple and make life easier for you. Okay, I'm going to be moving over to TikTok now. If you want to join me over there, that's also a busy one, so I don't get to. Facebook's my least busy because that's my smaller nut followers. And YouTube, how to enter their world. You watch how someone asked me on YouTube, how do you enter their world? You watch what they're doing and then do it with them. Watch how they play and you play with them. Get down on the ground. Get down and play with them. Watch what they do and do it with them. Mimic them. They will look at you differently. They just do. God, my mind's just spinning now. All the times I've watched toddlers and then I've gone over and mimicked them and they just zero in on you. It's quite interesting. Sorry, I'm just checking something here. I just got a message. I've got a client in a lot of trouble right now, so I just have to check a message. I think it said their name. Just a sec. Sorry. Oh, no. If I've got someone in trouble, it's always on my mind. Okay. Anyway, that's rare. I usually maybe have one client at a time that's in that situation. Not always, though. It's really good. So anyways, I'm moving over now to TikTok, and I'm always on YouTube when I'm doing these lives, and that's where all of my lives are saved. So if you go on the link above, you can get my free behavior board, buy one of my mini toddler courses. I've got 4 of those: bedtime battles, tantrums, potty training, and aggressiveness. And then also you can get my boot camp course from 3 to 12 years old, or you can hire me for one-on-one coaching. It's all done on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where in the world you live. You just have to be able to speak English because I don't have any other languages under my belt. I can barely handle English. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me, and I'm moving over to TikTok. Happy parenting. I got to be really careful with TikTok because I sometimes am tuned into my personal account. I just talk about old lady fitness stuff and nothing interesting. Okay, it's just for me. Okay. Hello, I am. Haven't seen. I don't think you were at my last live. Okay, Sassy and Loving It. I always love that name. I don't know if you came over from Facebook or Instagram or both. Some people follow me with all 3, and some people just sit on YouTube and or they watch the replays. I'm kind of picking up on YouTube now. YouTube's it's a slow burn with YouTube, and I love it. I watch it all the time, but I'm just sort of picking up on there a little bit, so that's good. I don't understand social media. Very actually, YouTube is a search engine. It's not social media. It's not where people go to chat, but I love YouTube. Okay, so we've got enough people now. Let's get going. If you go on the link above, aw, I am. Oh gosh. Aw. You must be 7 months now. Good luck. It's quite common, actually. So good luck with that. Okay. Okay, so if you go on the link above, you can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler court. Now I'm just thinking about I am in the hospital. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so if you go on the link above, you can just get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old, or you can hire me for coaching. So let's get going with your parenting questions. Okay, hello, quick question. How do I know if I'm providing sufficient attention to my child? What a great question that I cannot answer. We'll never really know. Like, you can do everything right and still get something wrong. You know what's funny? My son, he was the one who would have pointed out all my flaws like that. He was really good at that. So he was a teenager, and we just got into this conversation late night. We're up, just the two of us. We're up late at night, and he'd just come from a party or a friend's house or something. So we were just chatting, and we started laughing at all the mistakes I've made as a mother. And we're laughing, like, splitting our guts laughing at all the stupid things I've done as a mother. So I said to him, he was probably about 16 or 17. So I said to him, what about all the great stuff I've done? And he went like this, what? They always remember all your mistakes. So we're all going to mess up. There is no perfect equation for whether, and how do you know if you raise them right? And there was an old sitcom called Roseanne, the original Roseanne. It was hilarious. Talk about funny parenting. It was just hilarious. They always used humor. I love that because I use a lot of humor with my kids and sarcasm. And so anyway, someone said, how do you know if you're raising your kids right? And she goes, we're all going to mess them up. She goes, it's just the extent to which you mess them up. Like, we're never going to get everything perfect. So don't micromanage yourself. Just think, you know what? I'm getting maybe 80 to 90% of this pretty darn good. Don't aim for perfection. And I don't think that's good anyway. I think we should, then when do you get to apologize to your kids and be accountable? You got to mess up because you got to show them we're all human. We all make mistakes, and that's okay. If you're not making mistakes, you'd be a robot. How boring would that be? Who'd want to be around a perfect person? Ugh, I'd vomit. Who wants that? We want people who are funny and fun. And, I do like positivity, though. That's a real thing with me. I like humor and positivity. So aside from that, you can do pretty much anything else and get away with it with me. If you're fun and you're positive and upbeat, I'll forgive almost anything. I like to have fun. But to someone else, that might not be, we're all different, right? What to do when my 4-year-old cries every time I drop him off at daycare? Do the dump and run. It's like pulling off a Band-Aid. Just do the dump and run and end like this. Do it real fast, though. Say, okay, I'm going now. I'll see you later. You leave like that. I'll see you later, or I'll see you at 3 when I pick you up. Always end with that little see you later, with that little pot, and then leave. Let them cry it out. They get used to it. They'll survive. I remember when I dropped my kids off, I think it was grade 1. That was hard because it's a whole day and it was really hard. And neither one of them really cried. They got the chin quiver going, but I did the dump and run really quick and dropped them off. And then I sat in the parking lot and sat in my car and cried and cried and cried, but I never let them see that. I was very, yeah, okay, you'll be fine. See you later. And then I get in the car. My baby's growing up. Okay, what's the best method for discipline for a 2.5-year-old when she throws a tantrum or hits? Okay, if they hit during a tantrum, you just restrain them. But okay, here's how you handle a tantrum. You don't discipline a tantrum. A tantrum is not bad behavior. Even if they're hitting during a tantrum, you don't discipline that. Unless they get older and they throw something and break the TV or something, then you can deal with it later on. Anyway, this is how you deal with a tantrum, okay? You ignore it, but it's a certain way of ignoring it. You want to look like you're waiting for a bus. They're having a tantrum, you're right there. And you want to look like you're filing your nails, you're waiting for a bus. It's important that they know that they're doing that, but that you're just waiting for them to calm down. So you don't look at them, you don't talk to them. As soon as they calm down, go, oh, you all done? Okay, you want to read a book? You ignore the crazy and reward the calm. Do not interrupt the pattern of a tantrum. It is their brain processing, not getting what they want, when they want, and how they want it. If you interrupt that, they're not going to learn. You have to let their brain function through that. You have to let they're not functioning really, but you have to let their brain build those pathways. I'm starting a tantrum, I'm having it, and I'll get out of it, because eventually they'll learn that, wait a minute, that mother standing there filing her nails might read a book to me as soon as I'm done. So they'll start to connect the dots and they'll stop. Usually by 3.5, they've stopped having tantrums. Three to four, they should stop having tantrums. It is ignoring, but you're right there. And don't look on your phone and don't have a conversation with someone. I think that's rude. You're just standing there calmly waiting. You're like you're waiting for a bus. You're just waiting, filing your nails, waiting. Now, a lot of people get mad at me for that and come at me, which I love, because that means I'm shaking things up. They'll say, you're ignoring their feelings, you're ignoring their emotions. If you don't have to validate every single thought and feeling that they have, by the way. They're on their own with that one. They have to learn how to process a tantrum all by themselves. If you're damaging your child by ignoring a tantrum the way I just showed, you got bigger problems. That child does not feel loved. You're not meeting their needs. There's something else really wrong. Because if you are meeting their needs, they know they're treasured, you adore them, you're very demonstrative, you play with them, you're very loving, but you just ignore tantrums. If they can't handle that, you're doing something wrong. You might want to hire me for coaching, because you're doing something else wrong. It does not damage them when you're meeting their needs. Ignoring a tantrum is managing their wants. You meet their needs and you manage their wants. This you have to address and validate. Every single thought and feeling is garbage. It's absolute garbage. Stupid. It's so frustrating for me, because I've been watching this now for about 30, 40 years, this pleaser parent style that came in. And as soon as I saw it coming in, I thought, oh, geez, what a bunch of crap. Anyway, it's raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. They're all victims. Woe is me. Who's going to fix me? I'm exaggerating. Yes, I'm exaggerating. I know. Well, I don't know the age. My daughter's constantly losing her stuff, snow pants, gloves, and doesn't care. Advice. Yeah, I got a lot of advice for that. I don't know her age, but yeah, there's got to be consequences for that. I wouldn't necessarily take, it depends on how old she is. If she's older, I'd start taking it out of her allowance if it's consistently happening. And yeah, but if she's losing, that means you're not with her, so she must be older. Like, it's not like she's 2, right? Yeah, I was just asked this on another platform about an hour ago, how to get medicine into kids when they won't take it. I can't answer that. I know what I did, and I know what a lot of doctors recommend. It's an old-fashioned remedy that grandmas used to do, and it's not the least bit dangerous or anything, but I cannot tell you what it is because it's medicine. I can't discuss that because I'm not a doctor. I'm not qualified to discuss medicine. So I can't tell you what it is. Look it up. What would grandma do to get medicine into a kid? And I'm not saying that you might find something that is harmful, but look it all up and then use your own judgment. I can't help you with that. But I know what I did with my kids. Always got medicine in them. Oh, kids picking favorites. How do you manage when your toddler 3-year-old favors your husband? It goes back and forth, back and forth. They usually are more drawn to the leader. It's just natural because they need a leader. It's a natural instinct to need leadership. So they're more drawn. It doesn't mean they love you more. It just means that you're the one that they turn to and tell everything to. And you're the one that brings out the best in them too. So they tend to be more drawn to the leader. Or the one who gives them candy whenever they want. So it can go either way. I don't know which way it is with you guys. And they go back and forth, right? I wouldn't worry about it. How do I make sure that my kids see me as a leader rather than be fearful of me? Well, that's because you're mixing it with play. Yeah. It's kind of a funny story. It's kind of off topic, but not really. Like, I was a very strong leader, but my kids, believe me, they had a voice. They told me. If they didn't like something I did, they told me. So yeah, there wasn't fear, but they were afraid of me. They didn't want to disappoint me. They wanted to please me. So they had a fear of disappointing mom because they didn't want to see that because they really cared what I thought. So, but anyway, this was funny. This just kind of I think you should really have a lot of fun with your kids and be fun. And it's a difference. I don't talk a lot about this with myself because I was extremely goofy, and I don't think you have to be. I am naturally goofy by nature, so it worked for me, and it happens to fit in with kids really well. I like goofy, stupid stuff. I like doing the arm farts and I like all that dumb stuff. So, anyway, but I had a neighbor over once and I was doing the laundry, and this just struck me as so weird because I thought what I was doing was normal. But my mom used to say, I've never seen anyone get so much respect and yet be so goofy with kids. That was my strength, though, was being goofy. My kids loved having a fun, goofy mom. So why would they act out? Because goofy, fun mom got real quiet and serious if they ever acted out. So that kept the fun going to keep them, it just sort of was great. That's why we had such an easy life with the kids. But anyway, I had this neighbor over and I was doing laundry. And this is just really weird. And I was starting to do the laundry and my kids started running and screaming. And she says, and they were such good kids and that. And she said, what's going on? And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, why are your kids running around the house screaming? And because she never saw them like that before. And I said, oh, this is why. I put all the underpants on my head and I was the panty monster. All the leg holes were my eye holes. And I used to chase the kids around the house as the panty monster. So I did that every time I did laundry when they were little. And the neighbor said, do you do that every day? And I said, oh yeah, every day. I did crazy stuff with my kids. That's leadership. They don't fear someone like that. Plus I didn't have a temper. So I never yelled, ever. Yelling scares the heck out of kids. They develop a hard shell around it, but it does something to them. So most clients yell, most parents yell. You yell just because you don't know what else to do. I never yelled. Yeah. I was never yelled at either. My parents never yelled at me. Not once, not ever. So yeah, yelling scares them. It's scary. Imagine if your boss yelled at you. Yeah, it's scary. But I'm not judging you for that. Most parents yell. Very rare I get a client who doesn't yell. Most clients yell because it works in the short term. It backfires down the road. They don't want to do it, but they say, what else do I do? Because it works. Yeah, but if you know what else to do, you never have to yell. So when you're a leader, leaders never yell. Leaders never lose it. Like I don't really have a temper. So yeah. Use a firm tone. I whisper when I'm disciplining. I whisper. I get real quiet and slow. Like if a kid acted out around me, I'd say, I didn't like that. I'll tell you what we're going to do. Okay, so you're going to help me pick up those blocks now, okay? Do you understand? And then they, oh, okay. I get real quiet. I whisper. My son used to say, if my mom ever whispers, run. Selfish teenagers, please. That's good. They're supposed to be selfish. Teenagers are naturally narcissistic. I think it has something to do with hormones. They're growing. They've got a lot of pressure on them. They're turning into adults. They're trying to find their way. They're sexually coming of age. There's a lot going on. So you have to train them to sometimes do something for others. But yeah, that's pretty normal. Pretty normal. There was someone who said to me once, because I do specialize in teenagers, they're my favorite age. And someone said, how do you teach a child how did they word it? How do you teach a teenager to be thoughtful towards other people? And I laughed. It might happen. Yeah. But it just struck me as a funny thing to ask me. And I said, I don't know. You can teach them how to be respectful. You can teach them how not to go too astray and how to tell you everything. Those are all things you can do. But to teach them how to be thoughtful towards other people and do for others, it just struck me as funny. That was a really big ask. I remember the sweetest thing my son ever did. My daughter was born thoughtful. She's just one of those. She's really just always, even as a baby, she was just never cried or anything. Easiest kid in the world. But I gave her confidence. She knows who she is. She's all grown up. She's almost 30 now. So she's all grown up. She's very confident. She knows who she is. I gave her that because she was more of a pleaser. She wanted to please people. She's not like that now. She's just normal, right? Very confident. But I remember my son, this was so cute. He was 12 years old. And I don't want to go into great detail, but we had this stomach flu going around the house. Didn't hit here, it hit the other end. And we were all laughing at we called ourselves the poopy family for about a week there. So anyway, it didn't hit me yet. And I was teasing the kids about it and laughing at them. And, so, oh, you pooped your pants again, did you? Sure enough, I'm sitting in the chair in the family room and it happened to me, sitting there, like no warning, nothing. And I said, oh no. And they both both my kids knew exactly what it was happening because they had gone through it. So, and we were laughing. I could barely get down the hallway. I was laughing so hard because I'd been teasing them all week. They're laughing, I'm laughing. So I go in the bathroom. Finally, I had to hold myself getting in the bathroom. So I get there and I hear my son say on the other side of the bathroom door, he's 12, and he said, Mom, do you want me to come in there and help you get cleaned up? A 12-year-old boy would say that. You can't train that thoughtfulness. Like, I just thought that was the cutest thing. 12, I don't think he would have done that at 16. I would. No, he probably would have. But he wouldn't have offered, but he would have done it if I'd asked him to. But I said, no, sweetie, that's okay. I can clean myself up. But the way he said it was like, please don't say yes. Please don't say yes. The way he said it, he would have done it. 12 years old. What would he have done? He'd have been scarred for life if I would have let him do it. But anyway, so that's just thoughtfulness. It happens organically sometimes. It's usually, when push comes to shove, they usually are very caring. But yeah, don't expect it on a day-to-day basis. That's unrealistic. How to get teenagers to respect you. I'm going to read my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. I don't know why. I keep looking at my list. I know it all off by heart, but anyway. Okay. That's not true. You know why I have to look at my list? I can go off on tangents and then forget where I am. That's why. Okay, so here's my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers, who are my favorite age, because I know how to get respect with them, and they're just fun when you have mutual respect. Number 1, you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. And by the way, they already know it. So you get really good at listening and they'll tell you everything. You would be amazed what they'll tell you. Sometimes too much. Okay. Yeah, they will. Anyway, I told my mom everything and my kids told me everything. And we had a safe place to land. So we told them everything. Number 2, you negotiate pretty much everything. You say, look, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? It's not a blanket statement. You don't do it with absolutely everything, but think about it. You can probably do it with a lot of stuff, especially if you're not perfect either. This is the whole thing. You got to give them a voice. So you're asking a lot from them, but then maybe there's something about you that drives them nuts, right? Give them a voice. You got to do that. You negotiate. Number 3 is you don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. Save your energy for the big stuff if you need it, and you don't micromanage a teenager. It's not going to work anyway. Okay, you have to let them make mistakes, just like you did. So if they do something stupid and it's not a huge deal, you say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. Say, we all make mistakes. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, you learn from it and move on. So yeah, give them that grace. Give them the ability to make mistakes and you not cut them down. They're going to make mistakes just like you did. That's okay. So yeah, I messed up too. Is there a book you recommend? I've never read a book on kids or parenting, so I wouldn't have a clue. Kids taught me everything I talk about. I learned from kids, and they're the ones who told me to teach this. Teenagers said to me, you got to teach this stuff, Lisa. No one's ever talked to us like you do. So yeah, they're the ones who told me to start my business. I respect kids a lot more than adults sometimes because they're so freaking, especially teenagers. They are so honest. They're going to tell you exactly what they're thinking, especially when you work with the tougher ones, right? That I used to work with some real hard-nosed teenagers, and they'll tell you exactly what they're thinking. And it can be great or it can be not so great. So yeah. The thing is that when you, I won't go into it too much, but they are my favorite age by far, teenagers. I could go on about them that's who I could talk about teenagers for hours and hours and hours. I find they're so misunderstood. When you learn how to bring out the best in a teenager and make them feel good about themselves, they would never be rude to you. They're not living to please you, but they don't want to disappoint you either. Your opinion means a lot to them. You got to be careful with that too. There's a lot of power in that. Once I understood how to do that, once I figured it out, I thought, wow, there's a lot of power here. I got to be careful. You can't even look at them the wrong way. They're so hypersensitive to how you look at them. So yeah, when you learn how to bring out the best in teenagers and you learn how to make them like themselves when they're with you, they're never going to be a problem. So it's not about showing them who's the boss or any of that garbage. It's about bringing out the best in them. Yeah, it's work though. Teenagers are work. Hmm. I I'm always kind of hesitant to discuss these things. I'll read it out and I'll tell you why. What about a 3-year-old refusing to eat? They're literally just not interested in eating. That could be a medical issue. I can't possibly flippantly answer that as if it's a parenting thing. What if there's some medical issue going on? I have to recommend to you as a responsible coach, I have to say to you, I would seek medical attention if you're really concerned. What I would do as a mother, if I was really concerned, I'd go to the doctor, yes. But then also, I never had any junk food in the house. So oftentimes when parents say they never eat, they're often eating chips and chocolate and cookies. So I never had any junk food in the house. So if my kids didn't finish their broccoli, there was no ice cream waiting for them. I just didn't have that stuff in the house. I made all my own cookies and cakes and pizza and everything, but it was all, I hid a lot of healthy stuff in there. There wasn't much sugar, lard, and all that stuff. So yeah, that's what I did. But yeah, if you're really concerned, you got to go to the doctor. That could be a medical issue. It might not be anything. I don't know. Okay. I actually have a note on here to discuss it, and I didn't get to it, but it's transitions. This is from Ashley. Help with transitions with 3-year-old, leaving daycare, leaving the park, etc. Always a struggle. My son was like that. Not every time, but if he was really having fun, and you never know why. Some days I think, oh, he's just going to be great today, and then he'd have a screaming fit when we had to leave somewhere. What I did is I pulled him up. I just picked him up under my arm and took him anywhere. Took him anyway. So there's no way I would give them any power with that. So what you do is you follow through. If you say we're leaving, you can't, and then they start to have a fit, you have to leave. Because what you're teaching them is if you say, okay, another 5 minutes, next time they're going to throw a fit, it's going to be 10 minutes. Next time, when you say we're leaving now and they have a fit, you have to leave. I know it's hard. I did it with my son. He outgrew tantrums when he realized they were never going to work with me. So he outgrew them pretty young. But yeah, you have to, when you say we're leaving, you have to take them. I know it's difficult, but it's just what has to be done. Because if you don't follow through with what you say, they're never going to trust you. Will you write a book one day? It actually is in, if you could see all the stuff I have to do right now, I'm just changing a lot in my business right now. I would love to write a book one day. Well, I can't write a book. I'll have someone write it. But anyway, so yeah, I would love to write a book one day. I'm just afraid of leaving something out, but I can't let that stop me. I'll do it one day, maybe in a couple of years. I'll probably have more time then, hopefully. Okay, actually, I got to get going. My voice is, I can feel my throat's drying out and it just gets really sore. So anyway, I got to go. Thanks so much for joining me. I always am very grateful for you tuning in, and I hope I'm helping you because I'm not here to be popular. I'm not here to be liked. I'm here to help you. I truly am here to make parenting more fun and easier. I want to make the world a better place by making kids happier and parents happier. That's my goal. It's always prevention. I don't want to fix the problems. I want to prevent them. So either way, coaching is fixing problems, but preventing them is all this stuff. And some fixing stuff too. But anyway, my goal is to make parenting as easy as possible for you. I kind of sailed right through it. I loved it, but I had a lot of experience with kids. I kind of figured out this leadership stuff when I was really young, and it works. I thought, wow, this is, everyone kept saying parent, because I was so excited about being a mother. It was my whole goal in life was to have kids. And they said, well, Lisa, you built it up. It's not going to be anything. No, it's hard work. I freaking loved it. I've got a granddaughter now. I adore her. I absolutely love her. She's beautiful, but it's not as fun as being a parent because I don't get to take her home. I have to leave her with these other people, her parents. She's great. I adore her. I love her as much as I love my kids, but it's not as much fun because you have to hand it back. So that's how much I love mothering. I loved it. And I want that for all of you. I want you all to enjoy parenting as much as I did. That's truly my goal with my business. Anyway, I got to go. Check out the link above. You can get my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course for 3 to 12 years old. And that's all focused on you and your leadership. Or you can hire me for coaching one-on-one. It's all done on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you live. It's usually an hour a week. Anyway, happy parenting. Bye now.